Okay, so welcome to section 3.1, which is simple and compound interest. So simple and compound interest. Okay, so let's do an example. So for example, suppose you receive I before E except after C. Receive. Does that look better? A one-time interest payment of say 30%. On what? On an investment. Of, let's do $2,400. So how much money do you have at the end? So how much money do you have at the end? Do you have at the end? Okay, so the interest. So it's a one-time interest of 30%. So the rate is 30%. And what's the investment? So the investment is $2,400. So investment is $2,400. Okay, so I want to know how much money we have at the end. So how much money do we have at the end? Okay, so first let's calculate what is the interest. So we know the interest rate is 30% applied to what? Of, meaning multiplied by 2,400. But remember, anything that's a percent is really that thing, 30 divided by 100. So this is times 2,400. So I can reduce two of the zeros with these two zeros. And I'll be left with 30 times 24. Okay, so let's think about this. What would 3 times 24 be? Well, 3 times 20 is 60. And 3 times 4 is 12. So that would be 772. But I'm tacking on an extra zero, so that's 720. So that's just the interest. So what's the amount I have at the end? So final amount? Well, that's going to be the initial investment, 2,400, plus the interest I earned on that investment, which was 720. So the final amount you end up with is going to be 3,120. So $3,120. Well, let's note something about this. So I have 2,400 plus 720. But how did I arrive at the 720? Well, I got there by saying, okay, so this is 2,400 plus, it was really 30% of, or 0.3 times 2,400. So I could factor out the 2,400 out of these two terms, which means I divide each term by 2,400. So the first term just becomes 1, and the second term just becomes 0.3. And so this will lead us to the formula for simple interest, which is, so simple interest, or simple one-time interest, I'll write it that way, simple one-time interest okay, so we're going to let, what color shall we use? Let's have P be equal to the principal amount / investment. I'm going to let little r be equal to the interest rate. And we'll let A be the final amount. Then we have that the final amount A is going to be principal P times the quantity. Oh, maybe I should use, let's use pink. 1 plus the interest rate R. Okay. So let's note something. The interest earned well, let's look at how we earned the interest. Well, we just took the rate times the principal, right? So let's call the interest earned capital I. It's going to be the principal times the interest rate. And that's how we calculate the interest. Okay. So for example, so find the amount earned. Find the amount earned. On, let's say, $30,000. If the interest rate is a one-time, so if the interest rate is a one-time, 3%. Okay. So note that we just want to find the amount earned. We don't want to find the final amount. So we just want to know what the interest is. So the amount earned, want to find interest I. Okay, so what is my principal amount? So P, the principal amount, the investment was $30,000. And the interest rate R, one-time interest rate, is 3%. So 3%. Okay, so I claim that the interest is principal P times interest rate R. So that's going to be 30,000 times, well, how would I write 3%? That's really 3 divided by 100. So what I can do is I can reduce 2 of the zeros with the 30,000. So what this gives me then is 300 times 3. So 300 times 3 is 900. So the interest earned on this investment is $900. Okay. So let's consider simple interest paid multiple times. So simple interest paid multiple times, only ever on the principal. So what we don't want to do is i.e. Do not consider the previous interest earned, when calculating the new interest. So we only ever go back to what the principal was when calculating the new interest. Okay, so for example, so let's find the total. So find the total. At the end of 3 months. On an investment. So on an investment of, let's see, $3,600. $3,600 that pays 4% each month. But only on the principal. Okay. What is the principal? So an investment of $3,600. So my principal P, what I invest is $3,600. I know the rate, it pays 4% each month. So the rate is 4%. And I want to find the amount and the amount after 3 months. Okay, so let's do, how do I want to say this? So first month interest. Of course, it's going to be the principal times the rate, so it's going to be 4% of the principal, $3,600. Okay. Well, that's going to be 4 over 100 times 3,600. So the zeros reduce. And 4 times 36. Okay, well, what is 4 times 30? That's 120. What's 4 times 6? That's 24. So that's going to be $144. But let me first move this a little bit to the left so that I have a little bit more room. Okay, so we're going to get $144. So what is the total? What color should I use? So first month total. Well, that's going to be the initial amount, 3,600, plus the interest we earned on that, which is 144. Okay, so the total at the end of the first month is going to be what? $3,744. Okay, so now let's go on to the, what color should I use? Let's use green, so second month interest. Well, remember, we're only taking interest on the principal. So that's still going to be 4% of the principal, 3,600, and we're not counting the interest earned. And we know that that's $144. Okay, so what is the second month total? Second month total. Well, that's just going to be the first month total, which is $37.44, plus the interest, which is still $144. Doesn't change. Okay, so $37.44 plus $144 is $38.88. That's a nice number. Okay, so finally, let's find the third month interest. Once again, I'm not compounding, so it's just 4% of the principal, where the principal was $3,600, and we already know that that's $144. So therefore, the third month total, which is what we're looking for, is going to be the second month total, $38.88, plus the interest earned during the third month, which is $144. So finally, what do we get? What's that? $4,032. Okay. Well, let's consider what we did here. So let's consider what were our amounts. So the first month total we had $37.44. $744. Oh, what was that really? That was $3,600 plus $144, right? Okay. The second month total was $38.88. And what was that really? Well, that was $37.44 plus $144. But we know that $37.44 is really $3,600 plus, actually that plus should have been a different color. I'll get to that in a moment. $144, to which we're adding $144. Let me draw this plus in hot pink as it was supposed to be. Okay, so the second month total looks like it's $3,600 plus, maybe I'll keep it hot pink, plus how many 144s? It looks like 2 times 144. Now let's look at the third month total, which was $40.32. Well, that's just the second month total, $38.88 plus $144. But we just found out that $38.88 is what? It's $3,600 plus 2 144s. And to that, I'm adding a final 144. So it looks like I have 3 144s. So this is 3,600, to which I'm adding now 3 144s. Okay, so first month had 1 144. The second month had 2 144s. The third month had 3 144s. So hopefully we can see the pattern here. So what is it? So simple interest over time. Simple interest, which is non-compounded, so simple interest over time. Okay, so let's let P be equal to the principal amount. Let's let R be equal to the interest rate. Let's let T, what color should I use? Maybe T be the number of times the rate has been applied. So the number of times the rate has been applied. Rate is applied. And then let's have A, the final amount. Actually, I'll do that in purple. A be the final amount. Okay, so then what can I say? Then, what is A? A is going to be the principal times the quantity, 1 plus rate R times time T, or not time, the number of times the rate has been applied. Okay, so that's actually what we have up there. Here's my R. Well, 144 is what? It's R times principal, right? So if I were to distribute, that's where we get that from. So this is the formula for what I had above. Okay, so let's note something. So note. So if you have an annual percentage rate, so if you have an annual percentage rate, percentage rate, i.e. an APR, annual percentage rate, paid, say, T times per year. Then the rate each time would be, so then the rate each time would be you're going to take the rate R and divide it by the number of times T. So what do I mean by this? So for example, So let's say I had 24% APR paid monthly. So T is equal to 12 because there's 12 months. So what this means, it'd be 24% divided by 12, which is 2, right? So it would pay 2%. Let me maybe move this to the left a bit. So 24% APR paid monthly would be 2% each month. Another example would be, say, 24% paid quarterly. So 24% annual percentage rate paid quarterly. So in this case, T is 4. So that means I'd have 24% divided by 4. So that's 6% every quarter, which is every 3 months. Okay, so for example, okay, suppose you invest $1,800. You invest $1,800 at an interest rate, or let me say at an APR of 12% paid quarterly. So how much money do you have after 3 quarters? So how much money do you have after 3 quarters? Okay, so let's first note so the quarterly interest, well, it's going to be the interest rate R, which is, what do we have for the interest rate? Let's use yellow. So we have an APR of 12%. So this is 12%. So quarterly means that my T is 4. So what that's going to give me is going to be 3% each quarter. Okay, so I'm dealing with an interest rate now of 3%. Okay, so now let's look at what color should I use? So the first quarter interest. First quarter interest is now going to be 3% of, what's my principal? My principal is $1,800. 18, not 81, $1,800. Okay, well, 3% means 3 over 100. So the 1,800, the 2 zeros reduce. So 3 times 18. Well, if it were 20, 3 times 20 would be 60, but I was too shy. 3 times 2 is 6. So 60 minus 6, looks like that's $54 interest. Okay, so the first quarter total will be my principal, which is $1,800, plus the interest of $54. Okay, so my first quarter total is going to be $1,854. Okay, let's look at our second quarter interest. Quarter interest. Now this is no longer simple. Now it is genuinely 3% on the amount I have. And that amount is $1,854. Because we said nothing about the interest just being on principal. So that's going to be 3 over 100 times 1,854. You can put that into your calculators. So what do we get when we're done there? We get an amount of $55.62. $55.62. Okay, so the second quarter total. Second quarter total. So that's going to be the 1,854 I started with, plus the interest, which is $55.62. $55.62. So what that gives me then is a second quarter total of, what is that? $1,909.62. Okay, so the third quarter interest. Third quarter interest. So that's 3% of 1909.62. Okay, and what that yields is going to be $57.29. So what that means is that the third quarter total and what we're looking for, third quarter total is going to be $19.09.62, to which I'm adding the interest, $57.29. So what do I get? When all is said and done, we get $1,966.91. Okay, that was a lot. So what we're now going to do is compound interest, because this compounded, right? I used the previous interest earned to calculate the new interest. So that's our next formula, is compound interest. Compound interest. Okay, so I'm going to once again, let's let P be the principal amount. Principal amount. Let's let little r be the interest rate. Let's have little t, I'll use green, t being equal to how do I want to say this? Time between, or time elapsed with respect to, so WRT with respect to compounding events. Compounding events. And now let's have n, little n, I guess I'll do that in yellow, be the number of times the interest is compounded. So the number of times the interest is compounded. Is compounded. Okay, so then what is the formula? So the amount A, the final amount, will be principal P times the quantity 1 plus, going to have a fraction here, the interest rate R divided by N, the number of times it's compounded. Where does T come in? Well, now we're going to raise this whole thing to the N times T. Okay, so it's getting a bit more difficult, but let's just do at least one example here. So example, so find the amount earned. So find the amount earned on, let's say, $300. That pays 12% APR. That pays 12% APR. Compounded monthly. Compounded monthly. After 3 years. Okay, so first, what is my principal amount? Well, that's $300, right? What is the rate? And what color did I use? Orange. So the rate is 12% APR. So my rate is 12%. So now let's do N. Or I can do T, I guess. Let's do T. The time. So 3 years is the time I'm dealing with here. So T is 3 years. And N, did I use yellow for N? I did. Is the number of times it's compounded. Okay. Why is that not auto-correcting? Let's see. Let's try and auto-correct this one. There we go. Much better. Okay, so N. Well, that's going to be 12 times per year, right? Because the APR corresponds to an annual percentage rate. Hence, we have to do N. How many times per year does it compound? Okay, so what is the amount? The amount is going to be the principal, P, times the quantity, 1 plus the quotient, rate divided by N. Then we're going to raise that whole thing to N times T. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug all this in. So we have the amount will be 300 on the outside times the quantity. This is going to be 1 plus. Now the rate. 12% is 0.12 as a decimal divided by N. N is, of course, 12, so that's kind of interesting. And that's going to be raised to the 12 times 3. Okay, so this is 300 times the quantity, 1 plus 0.01, because 12 goes into 12 once, but the last digit of 12 is two digits away from the decimal. And now the power is 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, simplifying some more, this is going to be 300 times what amounts to 1.01 when I add, raised to the 36. So what we want to do in our calculator is we want to do 1.01. Then we're going to use the key. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones. It's either x to the y, or we can use the key that looks like a caret, like that. Or some calculators have the key that's y to the x, so maybe that's the one you'll find. So whatever one your calculator has, you're going to do 1.01 and then press any of these keys, whichever one it is. Then you're going to press 36. After that, you're going to press the equal sign. Then, after that, let's see, I might need to move this to the left. I don't know if I'll have enough room. Then you're going to press the multiplication sign. Yeah, I might need to move this to the left a bit. And then you're going to multiply by what? By 300. And then the last step you'll do is you're going to press the equal sign. And that's how you're going to calculate this in your calculator. And what you should get, if it works out right, is going to be $429.23. Okay, so let me put a semicolon here for how to work the calculator. So this is the scientific calculator. Scientific calculator instructions. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and I'll see you guys in the next section.